This is honestly the secret to my sauce. Anyone who eats your tteokbokki, if you make it this way, they're gonna say it's the best tteokbokki they ever ate. Today, as you might have guessed, I really can't do a Korean street food series without doing tteokbokki. Tteokbokki literally translates into tteok, which means rice cake, and bokki, which means fried. So this is a stir-fried rice cake dish. It is one of the most popular Korean foods, like not just even a street food. It is literally one of the most popular Korean recipes out there. We're going to be making the spicy version. I don't know if you know this, but Korean tteokbokki traditionally was made without the heat. It wasn't until the Korean War in the 1950s and afterwards, when so many people were hungry and didn't have enough money for food, that this cheaper, more affordable, and more accessible version of tteokbokki became so popular. So this right here is the kind of rice cake that we're going to be using for tteokbokki. As you can tell, they're shaped in tubes instead of discs. This is sort of a semi-fresh kind. It was made a couple of days ago at a local Korean bakery, but you can also find these in the frozen aisle if you're unable to find a fresh variety. So before we do anything, what we're going to do is we're going to marinate our rice cakes in a little bit of sesame oil, some salt, and some pepper to get it really nice and soft and tender and flavorful before we even cook it. This is actually a hint that my mom taught to me. She's like, why don't you marinate your tteok? And I was like, I didn't know you were supposed to marinate your tteok. This is what moms always do. They have all these little secret tips like rolling around in their head. And then when you don't somehow read their minds, they're like, what? How did you not know this? I didn't know this. So anyway, we're just going to dump our rice cakes into this bowl. And you can see they're like one big congealed mass. Don't worry about that. We're going to break it up, and also marinating it in the oil is going to help with that. I'm just going to break it up a little bit to make sure that they fit into my bowl here. There we go. And to this, we're just going to add about a tablespoon of sesame oil. Okay, as well as a little bit of salt and some cracked black pepper. We're just gonna let that sit for a while. It's not gonna like naturally fall apart on its own, but that oil is gonna get in there and we're gonna be able to easily pull it apart before we add it to our soup. So normally when I make tteokbokki or even rabokki, which is tteokbokki with ramen noodles added to it, I've made that many times. I add a ton of vegetables. I add carrots, sometimes I'll add some broccoli, some cabbage, everything that I have in the fridge because I love all that texture and of course all the flavor of the vegetables. However, this is a street food video, and one of the hallmarks of street food is portability and ease of eating. When you put so many vegetables into your tteokbokki, it's going to be hard to really eat it, and I wanted something that was simple enough where you could just literally take a toothpick, just like they do in Korea, stick that in your rice cake, you know, gloop up a lot of that sauce and just eat it like that. So we're not actually gonna have any vegetables in our tteokbokki today. It's really gonna be focused on creating a delicious, really spicy, and very rich, robust sauce. So I've got sort of a Dutch oven, and the reason I'm using a Dutch oven here is I like to think of this sauce almost like a very creamy, thick soup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna turn this on about medium-high. And to this, I'm gonna add 4 cups of water. Next, I've got here just like a leftover onion that I had used in my previous cooking video. It's about 1/4 of a white onion. I'm actually gonna stick the whole thing in here. Next thing I'm gonna do in order to create some amazing flavor is I'm gonna use some dashima. Dashima is basically kelp. It's dried kelp. In Korea, this sort of seafood briny flavor is a very important component to many of the flavor profiles in Korean dishes. So we're just gonna add a couple of these squares of dried kelp to our water to give it that extra flavor. Finally, I have some shiitake mushrooms. Actually just gonna throw 1 in here. A lot of times I don't like using the stem, so I'm actually gonna pull the stem out. and I'm just gonna put the stem in here. Even though the texture of the stem may be very difficult to chew for purposes of putting it in like directly into a dish, it still has all the flavor of the mushroom, and therefore it's great for making a nice stock. Next thing I'm gonna add is some soy sauce. This is a particular kind of soy sauce that is already flavored with a little bit of dashima. So I know that we already added some dashima to our water here, but I'm just gonna use a little extra help from this particular soy sauce. I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of this in here. Then of course, we've got to add our gochujang. So this is that Korean pepper sauce or paste. Gochujang literally translates into pepper. Jang means sauce. So this is that very iconically red, very spicy sauce that a lot of people often associate with tteokbokki. We're gonna add about a 1/4 cup of this, that's a lot. We're gonna add a 1/4 cup of this directly into our broth. Next thing we're gonna add to our sauce is some gochugaru. This is pepper powder. It's the chili powder that actually makes the gochujang. So we're really adding 2 sources of heat to our sauce. We're adding the chili powder itself as well as the paste that uses the chili powder. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of gochugaru to our sauce. We're just gonna add 2 more things to really amp up the flavor of our sauce without adding too much bulk. Actually gonna lower the heat because it looks like our sauce is coming to a boil. This is ramyeon or Korean instant noodles. This is my favorite brand. It's Nomshim, and they make a vegan one. I'm actually just going to take the soup packet and we're gonna add just the soup packet to our broth. This is honestly the secret to my sauce. Anyone who eats your tteokbokki, if you make it this way, they're gonna say it's the best tteokbokki they ever ate, and it's honestly because of this. So this is my secret for all of you. And finally, last but not least, we do wanna add a little bit of sweetener. Tteokbokki is traditionally on the sweeter side of savory foods in Korean cuisine. So we're gonna add about a tablespoon of maple syrup. Again, if you don't wanna use maple syrup, you can use whatever sweetener you like. Okay, and we're just gonna mix everything together. We've got the beginning of an incredible sauce here. Okay, I'm just gonna let this cook for about 5 minutes. I do wanna give some time for the flavors to develop a little bit before we add our rice cakes. All right, so our sauce has been cooking for about 5 minutes. At this time, I'm going to fish out the dashima and the mushroom pieces and the onion. Those are only there for flavor. And now to this, we're gonna add our marinated rice cakes. I've actually turned the heat completely off just so that I don't burn myself. If you guys are safer and more capable than I am, you can definitely keep the heat on a low simmer as you add your rice cakes. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna put my heat back on, and I'm just gonna make sure that the rice cakes are completely submerged. And I know what you're thinking, it looks super watery right now, but what we're going to do is as the rice cakes cook, the liquid is going to reduce. And not only that, the rice cakes are gonna give off the starch, right? Because they're made out of rice. They're gonna give off starch that's gonna help to thicken our sauce into a lovely gravy. So we're just gonna let this cook for a little bit. And when our rice cakes are fully cooked and our sauce has thickened, we'll be ready to serve and eat them. So our tteokbokki has been cooking away for about 10 minutes. Let's take, oh my goodness. Look at that. This looks amazing. And as promised, our sauce has turned into almost like a gravy-like consistency. Oh my God, our rice cakes are super soft and tender. They've even gotten a little bit bigger as they absorbed some of the liquid from the sauce. And this is, in my view, very classic street food style tteokbokki. Really no frills, no vegetables. It's just some rice cakes and some delicious spicy sauce. So let's take this off the stove top, shall we? And serve some up to eat. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of the gravy, our sauce. And I will add a little bit of toasted sesame seeds here to fancify it ever so slightly. And we are done here. So these are the utensils that are often used on the street. They're just toothpicks. So let's give this a try. This looks so beautiful. Oh my God. This reminds me so much of Korea. When I was a little girl, we went there and we would eat tteokbokki, my family and I. It was always super spicy, but so flavorful. That is delicious. I'm gonna invite my friend here who's been watching very patiently. Hello, Neiman.
What you made looks so delicious, and I hope it tastes as good as it looks like.
It's spicy.
Okay, but is it too hot?
It is hot, so you want.
So should I blow a little?
Blow a little bit on the tteokbokki.
So we make sure that. Okay, I am ready.
Yummy.
It's so good.
That means it tastes terrible.
It's actually really good.
Oh, actually really good.
Can I have another one?
Yes, you may. Yes.
I love it so much.
It's really good.
It's not hot spicy, but a hot temperature-wise.
It is
That
very.
the only thing that it bothers me, but
If you want it spicier, then just add more gochugaru. That's basically it.